everyone, it's Sharonda from Pay Your Weight. Today I'm going to be reviewing Power Book 2, Go Season 2, Episode 7, Force My Hand. And yet another week has gone by, and somehow Carrie and Everett are still alive to tell the tale and get on our damn nerves next week. But let's go ahead and get into this week's episode. We know at the end of last week's episode that Lorenzo basically took Drew's advice, where he was basically like, hey, we have to take over Keno's crew. He's not paying them the way that they need to be paid, and so there is an opening for us in order for us to really take back Queens. And so Lorenzo agrees with Drew's plan, and we see as this week's episode opens up, we see that Drew, Lorenzo, and Lorenzo's brother, who kind of cute. Well, I was like, hey, Lorenzo's brother. I don't remember him from the other episodes, but for some reason I just saw a lot of him today, so I was like, hey, cutie. Okay, I'm sorry, that's besides the point. Okay, so they end up busting up in on Keno, trying to get it on in the boom boom room, and Keno was like, traitor. And then it looked like Lorenzo was hesitating to shoot him, and then Drew is actually the one who takes the kill shot. I was like, okay, nice shoot, Drew. I don't condone violence, but that was a really nice kill shot right there. And we see that you know, they're telling the girl like, hey, you didn't see nothing. And I'm just thinking to myself like, okay, even if she does say she didn't see nothing, she needs to die. Sorry to you, girl. I don't know who you are. At least you got some before you got killed. But we see that Lorenzo's brother ends up shooting him. Drew is like, hold on, wait a minute. That wasn't a part of the plan. But we see that Lorenzo actually didn't take the kill shot on purpose. He couldn't be the one to actually kill Keno. That's why he allowed Drew to do so. But he said he was protecting Drew by making sure that his brother killed the girl that he was smashing, because there are no loose ends. And I thought, because we were saying that I was going to either get a Carrie death or every death. But once again, they just lived another week, and I just don't understand why. We see that, I was nice to see, I think it was Luna Velez who was playing Evelyn, who goes to visit Monet, asking about Frank being missing, and then she tells her like, hey, you know, I wanted to keep my family together, woo woo woo. Monet is like, baby, that's the game that we live in, honey, but here's some money to make your family whole. It's like, I don't think that's really gonna make them whole, but at least she gave her something that's better than nothing. And she tells her to tell Lorenzo to stay safe out there. So when Lorenzo and Drew, they come home, Monet sitting there just like Black Mama, just like, where the hell y'all been? What's going on? He's like, we taking care of some business. She was like, what business? What business that I don't know about? And Lorenzo tells Drew to go upstairs, and Lorenzo tells Monet, hey, you really have to stop babying Drew. And she's like, he's been shot. Like, I don't want him involved in any of this. And Lorenzo says like, hey, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure that our family is safe at all times. And I made sure that Drew was safe. And then he tells her like, come on, let's go to bed. And I was just like, the way that you be so chill about stuff, and you can see Monet be upset and you just don't care, I don't understand it. But we see that Drew ends up smashing Everett again. And I was like, I could have sworn that y'all was beefed out. So I'm trying to understand why you want to ignore the fact that Everett is a snitch, and why Everett wants to continue to ignore the fact that Drew is a drug dealer, a part of the game, never gonna get out of the game. His family is like deeply involved in it. I don't understand why they're being drawn so close to each other. Maybe it's one of something that you know you shouldn't have. Maybe the page is good between both of them. I don't know. But in the midst of all of this, we see that Raggedy Detective Whitman shows up, asking Everett questions about what happened at the altercation that happened at the club. He shoos him away, but Whitman sees the clothes on the floor. He asks him like, hey bro, why you so nervous? What's going on? But he gets rid of him, and he tells Everett like, hey, he's gone. And Drew is like, for now, but clearly he's going to come back. So we see that I was dying laughing when Monet told Diane, she's like, move out the way, little girl. Like, she's like, move the F out of the way, little girl. She can't stand Diane, and I can't stand Diana either, because she getting on my nerves this season. And we see that she tells her that she's going to meet up with an agent, with Zeke. And there's a text message that comes in talking about, we need to talk to him, Nate. And it has D, but Diana doesn't know who it came from. They kind of have an altercation back and forth because, you know, she was like, you got what you wanted. Your dad is home. You're going to school. And she was like, but I wanted to go to Stansfield. She's like, I told you to stay away from Tariq. I don't know why you thought that I was going to allow you to go to Stansfield in the first place. But Drew and Caine end up getting into an argument later in the episode. Obviously, Caine was upset about the whole deal between Mecca and Lorenzo and the fact that Drew was allowed to be there. And Drew calls Caine a guard dog with a new master, which clearly shots were fired. And then he tells him that I know everything about you planting the badge, and if I can figure it out, obviously the detectives, everyone can figure it out too. They end up getting into an altercation because he calls Everett a snitch, as he is. He was a snitch, but clearly that was fighting words for Drew. They start fighting. Lorenzo comes in and breaks it up. And he tells him, like, hey, you need to ask him about his little snitch boyfriend. And he was like, hold on. You know what I said about loose ends? Is ever a loose end that we need to tie up? And he was like, I'll take care of it. And then Caine was like, you better take care of it before somebody else do. And I was like, of all the times that I need Caine to do something that he's not supposed to do, I need Caine to be the one to go take out Everett. I just knew it was coming. I just knew it was happening. And then that moment never came. I was like, any other time, Caine, I do not be riding for your poor decisions. But that decision right there, that is the decision that I would actually be rooting for. So we see that Caine ends up having a discussion with Monet, letting her know about everything that happened with the meeting between Lorenzo and his supplier. And basically, if they can't run course correct without product, then they can't pay Davis, who was not only keeping Tariq out of jail, but Caine's name out of this trial, since he is actually the cop killer who killed Ramirez. We see later in the episode that, you know, after that conversation, Monet basically tells Caine, like, hey, you need to figure out what the hell you gonna do. So that causes Caine to go meet with Tariq. And Tariq, Caine was like, you the smart one, right? You the one everybody say is smart. Figure it out. We need to figure out a way to move some type of product in order to get the money for Tariq to still pay Davis, and also for Caine and them to pay Davis as well. Later on in the episode, Lorenzo, I was like, okay, look at Lorenzo. He even set the mood right. He got the Fendi boxes and stuff, got the gifts, got the flowers, the mood set right. He was like, hey, baby, I just want to say sorry for all the years you had to come to the penitentiary and lay up with me. Like, I'm riding with you. And he was like, did you tell Tariq, like, all of that is dead? And she was like, yeah, of course I did, lying ass. And I guess they got it on in the boom boom room, but that's just what she does anyway. But we see that as all of this has happened simultaneously, a part of the deal of Lorenzo getting all of his product from Mecca is that Mecca is going to supply his own soldiers to handle the issue that they don't have enough soldiers to sell the product on the street. And he's going to take an extra cut on top of that. But we see, I was like, damn, this is like a military operation. Then I'm sitting here thinking about it. As he said later in the episode with Monet, that instead of him going to jail, they offered him to go to the military, which is how he met all his little badass people. And so that's how they did the whole military op, to take out the rest of Keno's people. And we see that Lorenzo get a text saying that it's done. And then Monet gets a text saying, like, hey, we need to talk from Mecca. I can't wait to what happens once Lorenzo finds out who Mecca is, once Monet figures out that Mecca is the supplier. Like, I can't wait to see what the reactions is going to be with that. But in the midst of all of this, let's go ahead and talk about Mecca. So since we are on the subject of Mecca, let's go ahead and talk about Mecca. All right, I'm sorry. So he goes to see Zeke because he's been telling Monet, like, I'm going to talk to my son. I'm going to talk to my son. I'm trying to do it the nice way. Go through you, but you on some BS. So he goes to the court and asks Zeke, can they play a one-on-one? He's like, nah, man, just working on my form. And then Zeke says, you got 1 foot, a half size bigger than the other. And he's like, how do you know that? He was like, it runs in our family. He was like, our family. And he tells him that, you know, he's his dad. And he shows him the tattoo with this Ezekiel scripture. And that's how he got the name Zeke, and that he should ask his mother about it. So Zeke he blows off the meeting with the agent. Monet comes to curse him out. He tells her, like, hey, auntie, I ain't got time for you to be cursing me out. I need to go meet with my mother. This dude said that he was my father. So Monet understands what's going on. Then Monet was like, sit down. Like, she cursed his ass out because he didn't listen to her. She repeated herself a couple of times too many. And she tells him that this dude is a Caine, that his real dad is in prison for life, and that she basically lies, and Zeke behind just believes her. She was like, if you gonna trust a Caine man over me? I was like, Monet, now if we look at the track record of secrets that you have, it ain't looking too good about believing you, okay? And he takes the bait. He believes her. And she ends up going to Mecca and telling him to stay away from me and Zeke. But I like how everyone and how he checks her, like, do you really care about Zeke, or do you care about Zeke being your way out plan? Because it just feels like she puts too much stake on Zeke and how they can bring them money without being in the game that actually caring about Zeke like that's her child. And she felt a certain type of way when he said that. But I was with him on this. I was definitely with him on this, and I was okay for all of that. So I already talked about the meeting that they had, but we see later in the episode that Zeke is talking to Diana. He just be running off at the mouth, don't even know he be snitching on people, and tells her about how this dude Dante showed up and said that, that was he was his dad, but Monet was lying, so she thought it'd be best if he slept there that night. So Diana's a little detective, so she gonna put two and two together. And after looking at the previews for next week's episode, it looked like the cat gonna be out the bag next week. So I can't wait to be there, because like Monet was gonna snatch her and stuff, which she should have, because Diana been talking about the side of her neck a lot this whole season, and I don't know why she ain't made it without an asshole. But I know Monet choked her up last week, but she needed something just a little bit more than that. So I don't know if Diana's gonna tell. Diana is snitch, so if she gonna tell her daddy, if Monet gonna have to fess up, what's gonna happen? What dumb facial expression I'm gonna get from Zeke when he realizes that Monet is his mama and that Dante really is his dad? I don't know. Hopefully we will find out next week. But let's go ahead and talk about Davis, because Davis had a lot going on this episode. Outside of us knowing that he bangs anything that moves, we see that he ends up meeting with Paula after a conversation that takes place earlier in the episode with Tariq and Sax, where he says that he has an alibi. He was with Paula, obviously because Paula was showing the video of him confessing about murdering his dad. But obviously they can't use that because they obtained that video illegally. And when Davis faced his mouth to say, "I forgive you," I was like, "Sir, you forgive her? Huh?" Had that make sense for me real quick, because I was really confused, and obviously Paula was looking confused as well. And he tells her, like, "Yeah, I forgive you for going behind my back on Tariq," and then he tries to cheers her, and then she spills the drink on him and walks away. And I was dying laughing when he was like, "That's a bad beach right there." And I was like, she sure was in the all white. Paula was looking good. Like, let me show you. I know Marilyn don't look like this. Actually, I want to see, I don't think we ever seen Davis's wife, Marilyn. I really would love to see who his wife is, because I feel like that would just be a really funny moment. And whoever they decided to cast as Marilyn, I would really love to see that. So Davis he wants to talk to Yasmin, and he wants her to take the stand, because that's the alibi that they can actually use, that he was with his sister and his grandmother that night. He was, but after all of that actually happened. And he tells them about Lauren being caught with drugs after he finds out from class. Sax asks for a picture of who Lauren is, and she started acting weird. Davis clocked it. Tariq left, and then Sax tells Davis, "Hey, I know for a fact that's one of Jenny's witnesses, because I overheard them talking." And he's trying to figure out what he's going to do with that. But I was happy that he waited till Tariq left, because there's no way that Tariq would have actually been able to keep that a secret. But they do tell him in the meantime, you need to stay away from Lauren until we can figure out what's going on with your case. And so we see later in the episode that they kind of do a test run in front of the judge to interview Yasmin as a potential witness. I was like, okay, Yasmin, y'all be talking about how y'all ain't got no money like that. Like, I know the grandma be getting money for Yasmin, but she got the little Burberry dress on and stuff. I said, okay, girl, I see you, boo. And then she was doing good answering Davis's questions. But then when Jenny got on that cross-examination, and it didn't seem like they was watching Disney at the right time that they should have been watching Disney, Jenny poked holes all through her story, and Tariq couldn't take the pressure that they were putting on Yasmin. So he basically says, hey, did that. You ain't using my sister. We're going to have to figure something else out. But she is not testifying. So late in the episode, Tariq does go to see Tamika, whose hair is still laid, clothes still looking good, okay? And Tamika goes to talk to Sax, like, hey, I know you don't like Tariq, but we need to help him. We need to give him the choice to like be a better person. And obviously you see how he gets about his sister. That's our way in to get him to say who killed the cop. In order for her to get out of the system, in order for Tariq to snitch, we need to help his sister get out of the system, because it seems to be the only thing that Tariq actually cares about. She mentions a lot of things, and I love this whole thing of like forced hand and this whole thing about making decisions for other people, you know, who don't really have a say in how things are going to play out or how things could actually affect them. And I like that they talk about how, because of who his father was, a lot of bad decisions were made for him, who his father and his mother were, because Tasha ain't no angel in this either. And we have to give him the choice to be a better person, to decide who he wants to be, or he'll end up becoming a bigger monster than who his father was. And I like that they talk about how, because Tariq was raised with his father's smarts and the fact that his father made sure he had a good education, that he is smarter than Ghost. He might not be smarter at this point in his life, but because he is so young and he's experienced so much, he has the potential to be bigger and badder than his father ever actually was. And so Tamika really wants to help him in this situation. So as Davis is going to his car, Caine dumb behind in the car like, hey, Tariq gonna take the blame for everything. And he's looking like, dude, I know who you are. Like, what are you talking about? So Davis basically gets out of it and he says, hey, like, in order for me to help you, I gotta help Tariq get off of it, because if Tariq goes down for it, your name will be brought back into it. And I don't know how many different people that you need to hear this from. Monet done said it, Drew done said it. Like, everybody done said that, hey, like, you can still take the rap for this even if Tariq goes down. And so he ends up letting him go. And before he leaves, he rolls the window down. He was like, tell your mama I said hello, Caine, dummy. Like, you got this mask on, like, don't nobody know who you are whatsoever. But Davis was a little shook. He was a little shook. So let's talk about Tariq. We already talked about how Sax and Davis, they met with him to tell him about the surveillance video that they said was him. But they know that it wasn't him. He tells them about the whole thing with meeting Paula in Rockefeller Center. But he will not say who is the person responsible for killing the cop. And I like how Sax was like, I knew you was smashing Paula. Like, clearly, he is smashing everybody. He didn't smash Paula. He didn't smash Carrie. I don't know who else. He probably smashed Tamika. I don't know. Tamika probably wouldn't go for that. But I'm sure he probably did try. with Tamika. I was like, are you going to Jabari's memorial dinner? I'm glad that he didn't go. But I like what Davis tells Sax is like, you just don't get it. Like, to you, it's like this clear black and white type of thing. But for the streets, you like snitches get stitches. You ain't heard snitches get stitches? He cannot say who was responsible for killing the cop. He can't say it, or it's going to create even more problems than him actually taking the rap for it in the first place. We see that Brayden gives him the photo album, and they're going through the pictures, and they find a picture that Tariq can use, but Brayden says absolutely not, because his dad was in the picture. It ends up being a picture of Sweeney dressed as OJ, and Brayden's dad is Nicole. He was in blackface, and so he tells Rashad about the photo, but he was like, hey, the Westons got to stay out of this. And I love how real quick he was just like, I don't give a F about your little punk A little friend. And I was like, the way that Rashad goes from being like politician to like, I'm from the streets, don't you forget about it. I really love Lorenzo Tate as Rashad Tate. I think that he is like perfect casting for that role. But I do like in the conversation that Tariq is having with Brayden, even though I understand where Brayden is coming from, Tariq is like, you talk a lot about how much you hate white privilege until you're actually about to lose it. And he had a point there. Like, Brayden tells, oh, I hate my parents. I hate being a rich kid. That's why I be doing drugs and stuff so I can make money my own way. But then when you see like your family might not have the status that they might once hold, then it's a problem for you. So I hope that we get to explore that a little bit more. And also too, I was happy that, you know, they kind of built this up with Brayden being the president of like the company to get Tariq's funds. that they kind of wrapped everything up in a little bow, like they had beef and they didn't have beef. So I like that they still kind of like, okay, clearly this picture is going to come out and it's going to cause a lot of friction between Brayden and Tariq. I was happy that they still kind of kept that storyline like dangling there, because we know that it's going to happen sooner rather than later. Tariq goes back to campus. He's back in class. Carrie was looking so upset when she saw Tariq walk in. Like, I hate this Negro right here. But she was looking good with her little outfit. I still want her to die, but she was looking good with the outfit. And she was like, how did he get out of jail? And Rashad was like, I have absolutely no idea. I was like, Rashad, if he ain't gonna do one thing, he gonna lie. He gonna lie and not think twice about it. And so they introduced this topic about, should we make decisions for other people without their consent? That's the topic of class. And that's the topic that you kind of see display all these people making other decisions. Like when Mecca tells Monet that she made a decision to keep his son away from him and not tell him about it, but not tell Zeke who his real parents are. That was a decision that she made, and he had no say in that because he would have been in his son's life. Or even how Lorenzo and Monet make these decisions for their kids without really allowing them to have any agency over what happens with their own lives. We see this, how they play around with Diana, how they kind of pin Caine and Drew against each other, and ultimately the decisions that Ghost and Tasha made, how they kind of laid out this whole course of incidents that happened with Tariq. All these people are forcing their hands, forcing them into a certain type of life, and they really didn't have any say about it. How Carrie forces Lauren into being this snitch that she never wanted this to blow back on Tariq. So we're seeing this all the way around. We see that Lauren was like kind of making side comments to Carrie in class. She's like, excuse me, what did you say? And then they brought up the fact that Lauren got caught with drugs. And this is when Tariq, he didn't know about it because he had all the stuff going on with him. He goes to talk to her about it. She's obviously mad about the breakup still. Carrie raggedy behind, sitting there lurking around, trying to listen to them. And then when she tries to listen in on Clubhouse, and then they talking about how Carrie was smashing Jabari and Zeke, I was like, that's what you get for listening in on some stuff that wasn't your business. And Rashad tries to come in and try to get an invite to Jabari's memorial, but then the dean comes in and he was like, after hearing about some of these rumors about you spreading your legs for everybody, we think it's best that you don't come. And then Rashad jumps in because of course he's outside listening even after the dean asks him to leave. He basically takes up for Carrie and says that it's very sexist for them to do that without having any proof. And so they allow her to actually go to the memorial dinner. We already talked about how, Tariq asked for counsel from Tamika about what to do about his sister. She shows him, this is when she shows the pictures of, the people that his dad killed and how she doesn't want to help him become his father. And she tells him about the deal where he will only do 5 years max if he names who did it. And she tells him that, like, you have all the tools ahead of you to be smarter and better than who your dad actually was. So we cut to the memorial dinner, and I was really, first of all, I like that Lauren checked Carrie. Like, you are the common denominator in all of this that is happening. You are somehow involved with everyone. But I was dying laughing how Brayden's brother called Professor Reynolds Jabari, like, why are we here? And I was just like, this is a clear example of the white privilege that Tariq was telling you about. And when Brayden gets up, Rashad goes to talk to his dad, and then he basically says, hey, I just want to let you know about this photo. And then he was like, I don't respond well to blackmail. He was like, and I don't respond well to blackface either. And then he was looking shook. Brayden was looking shook. I was just over here laughing like, oh, he got you. I see you shut up. The way that Lauren introduced Carrie, I was just dying laughing because she was just like, she was over it. And then the way that both of them was like making comments when Carrie was talking and people were whispering about her, Carrie gets shook. She's like, I can't do this. You shouldn't have did it in the first place. The fact that you thought it was going to be okay for you to come speak at his memorial, I just didn't understand. And then Rashad gives her a nice little pep talk, which I was like, I thought she was going to smash him right then and there. I'm sure that they're going to smash before she dies, hopefully dies, okay? But he ends up telling her, like, hey, we're always going to find a way to survive. And after the dinner, Lauren goes to try to apologize to Tariq about what happened. Then Diana pops up, and Tariq is just like, hey, my lawyer told me I shouldn't be talking to you anyway. So he kind of closed the door on her. Then Diana, she goes up here talking about how she wanted to be at Stansfield to be with him. And then she kisses him. And he was like, wait a minute. First of all, is this something that you actually want to do? And then she kissed him and was like, yep. And then he was like, and Monet can't ever find out about us. And she was like, say less. They end up smashing, but she did ask him, did he know D? And I felt like that's what she was doing. I mean, I know she likes Tariq, but I just found it very weird after all of that, seeing Lauren at his door. I'm like, it just felt weird to me, but I'm sure Tariq don't care because he likes her anyway. So I don't know what's going to happen when Monet finds out about that. But the way when I thought that Drew was going to go kill Everett, and I was so excited, and then here Everett go, what you doing? I miss you. And then he talking about, I miss you too. I was like, fool, do better. He got to go. At least you was going to make it quick. Caine probably would have tortured him or something, so I don't know what the hell is going to happen. But we see that Tamika, Jenny, and Sack show up at Tariq's dorm. They offer him the 5-year deal, basically saying that Jasmine will go back to the foster family. His grandmother would go to rehab, and once she gets out of rehab, then she would have custody of Yasmin. But Tariq was like, you know, my father did anything to save himself, and I wouldn't be no better than him if I took this deal. Because at the end of the day, like, how am I as a snitch gonna be in jail and be safe? And knowing that I snitch, how would my grandmother and my sister be safe? Which was very wise, and he basically said, like, I'm not gonna take the deal. Jenny was like, I see your punk A in court. She didn't say that, but I know that's what she was thinking. To me, it was like, don't call my phone no more, ho. If you get in trouble, don't call my phone. This was your last lifeline. Bye. We see Sex having a drink, and then Davis confronts him about trying to make a deal behind his back, and he tells him that he didn't take it. And then he asks a question about Lauren, like who was her counsel when she was meeting with them, and that's when they discovered that it was Carrie. And Davis goes to Carrie and basically says that you know, he was like, now what bone haven't you had in yours? And talking about you didn't sleep with 4 people involved within this case in the first place. And then she was like, sir, but you're married and you have a higher body count that I can't even touch your body count, a % of your body count, sir. She was like, say hello to Marilyn for me. I was like, ooh, the way she talking about Marilyn like this. And then he was basically like, if Lauren takes a stand, I'm going to rip her apart. And she was like, no, Lauren's going to be in danger. And I was like, well, bitch, you should have thought of that before you put her in the middle of this. And he was right. Like, whatever happens to Lauren, that is on you, because you was the one doing all of this mess in the first place. So he says that his kind is going to go free, whatever it takes. And I thought, like Avengers Endgame, whatever it takes. And then I thought Degrassi, whatever it takes. That has nothing to do with this. I'm so sorry that I got sidetracked. So the episode goes off. In the preview for next week's episode, we see that they got to figure out Caine and Tariq, how are they going to get this money? Because Davis don't play about his money. And he was like, I have a public defender for you. But what's going to happen? And it seems like Lauren may be dying next episode. But I would be okay if Lauren stayed alive long enough for me to just see Everett and Carrie die. But overall for me, things are shaping up pretty well. I really love the tie-in from a writing standpoint, how they tie in their discussion and canonical studies into the overall, what's happened with all of these characters. I think it's done so beautifully well. But I'm feeling this. We only got a couple more episodes to go. 8, 9, we got 3 episodes left, so I can't wait to see. But I know Carrie and Everett better be dead by episode 10, all right? Okay. Let me know in the comment section below, what did you think of this week's episode of Power Book 2 Ghosts? Those are my thoughts on Power Book 2 Ghosts, Season 2, Episode 7. All right? Force my hand. As always, my name is Sharana from PR Waits, and if you like what you saw today, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, share this video with your friends, and make sure you hit the notification bell. And I love you guys 3000. And until I see you again,